Independent thought, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We are announcing that due to the recent and rampant spread of the Delta variant, the fact that no child under the age of 12 is yet eligible to be vaccinated, and the reality that too many older students and their parents remain unvaccinated, that all students, educators, staff, and visitors will be required to wear masks inside of school buildings, regardless of vaccination status, for the start of the 2021-2022 academic year.
Yep. That's going to happen a lot over the next coming several days as kids go back to school. My son does not go back to school for about a month. But here in Arizona, the battle's begun. Stepdaughter, she's not in school. Why? Well, somebody tested positive or a parent tested positive in a class, and they decided, well, we got to shut everything down. It's a nightmare, and it's back. We thought it was gone. We thought it was gone, but it isn't gone. It's here. It's right in front of us again, and the battle is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Teachers want what? I'm curious, because here, Arizona, we got a lot of teachers actually that are choosing not to get vaccinated. We got some teachers that are saying, hey, the mask mandate law that you signed, where you signed Governor Ducey, that says you can't mandate masks. Some of the school districts are trying to do it. And we got a couple teachers that are taking their schools to court. I mean, it's crazy. This is where we are. This hasn't gone anywhere. And the thought process of us getting together, fighting this thing as one, getting through this thing it isn't happening. Not at this moment in time.
Or since 1850, we've dealt with vaccines in schools. It's not a new thing to have immunizations in schools. And I think that as a matter of personal conscience, we need to be working with our employers, not opposing them, on vaccine mandates to, revisit and to reconsider our policy that we passed in October about voluntary, that the best way to do this was to do it volitionally. Circumstances have changed, and vaccination is a community responsibility.
It's Randy Weingart. She is the president, essentially, of all the teachers who are in the big unions. And she is saying, it's no longer an opportunity for you to go get your kids vaccinated when the time is right. It's now mandatory. That's what we should make it mandatory, mandatory, mandatory. This is where the battle. You think the mask battle was ugly and nasty. You think that was ugly and nasty. Wait till they start throwing in mandatory. That is going to get very ugly, Dr. Fauci.
You're not going to see a federally from the federal government mandating vaccines for the country. But I'm almost certain, in fact, I am certain, that as soon as the FDA fully approves the vaccines, you're going to see the empowerment of local enterprises giving mandates. That could be colleges, universities, places of business, a whole variety, and I strongly support that.
Yep, so that's where we're going to be headed, potentially. And it is ugly. It is nasty, and it is not getting better. And the fights are getting worse. School fights are going on. You've got a hot mess in Florida. Let's be real. The mess in Florida is absolutely ugly. It's getting worse by the day. Hospital beds are filling up. People are testing positive. It is getting worse. Texas, out here in Arizona. Now, we don't have a lot. I think right now, we're averaging about 2,200 a day. But about 3 weeks ago, we were like 200, 150 was negligible. See how fast it can grow. Kids are back in school. Fights have begun. There is no good answer at this point in time for this thing. There isn't. And it's going to get worse before it gets better when it comes to the arguing and the fighting.
I'm a conservative. I think you govern best when you govern closest to the people being governed. And if a local community, their ICU is full, and the people at the local schools see that they've got to make sure they stay open because otherwise children miss out for another year of school, and they put in policy, then the local officials should be listened to. That is a conservative principle.
So you disagree with Governor DeSantis?
I do disagree with Governor DeSantis. The local officials should have control here.
Yeah. It is It's going to get ugly. It's sad. It's sad. Cases, by the way, in Florida among children, pretty big. It's getting worse. Now, even people in the own party, as well as people inside of his state, are pushing back because they're saying, dude, it's one thing to be free and open and allow people to make some choices. It's also another thing to realize when something's punching you in the face that, hey, let's not ignore this thing. At some point in time, maybe we need to take some step into slowing this thing down and mitigating. At this point, it's not about whether or not we could stop it, because obviously we're not going to be able to stop it. What we are going to do, though, is empower people at a certain level to know their community better, to do what's best for them.
I don't want top-down from Washington, D.C. I don't want top-down from a governor's office. Sometimes, yes, okay, national defense and such like that. But when it comes to local conditions, if my hospital's full and my vaccination rate is low and infection rate is going crazy, we should allow local officials to make those decisions best for their community. I will say, politicians should not kind of carte blanche accept what the public health doctor says. They shouldn't just gratuitously ignore it either. There has to be a balance there. And whenever politicians mess with public health, usually it doesn't work out well for public health.
Yeah. And there's the other side of things, where politics gets involved and then everybody overreaches and steps. And I admire the fact that he wants to take this thing on in a hands-off approach. But I think at some point in time, you've been elected governor to oversee this thing. And you're getting pushback from your people because you're seeing kids sick. You're seeing your hospitals fill up in certain areas. It is becoming a nightmare. And you don't want that. This is a new variant, and it's nasty. It spreads easy. It's not more deadly. But I've told you guys this 1,000 times. It doesn't have to be more deadly to kill more, because it captures more. And as we head into the fall year and the worry about the flu season coupled with this, or I was reading yesterday, Wall Street Journal, brands, big brands, who were thinking this year is the year that we get back on normal when it comes to Christmas and things of that nature, are already changing their plans advertising-wise of what they're going to be doing in the coming weeks and months, because they don't think this is going to be something where they see themselves get back. Businesses, more and more. We filled up here about 3-4 weeks ago. We saw a rush of people coming back. The parking lot wasn't empty anymore in the middle of the afternoon. It was, now what are we seeing? Masking up throughout the building again. Some of the people have been sent back home. This is what we're going through. It's the up, it's the down, and it's the frustrating thing. And some of it's come from the fact that the health departments and the way that the World Health Organization, the CDC, has handled stuff. Others come from people who, you know what, they don't want to get vaccinated. That's fine. But they also feel like, not only do I want it, I know people like, not only do I not want to get vaccinated, like, they're like, this thing's a joke and I don't really care. Give it to me now. And I'm just like, this is the problem. This is the problem we have. It is frustrating. We should not be in the situation. Now, do I think we're going to go back to full-blown lockdowns? I do not. Do I think you should make your choice for you? Absolutely. But remember, in making the choice for you, you still have a personal responsibility to not be an a-hole. Right? That's something we forget. The beauty of having responsibility and personal choice is that you make that as a responsible choice, not to try to prove a point.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. They can't keep all of your kids home from school. They can't keep every government building closed. We don't have to accept the mandates, lockdowns, and harmful policies of the petty tyrants and bureaucrats. We can simply say no, not again.
Rand Paul. And I think I think for a lot of people, that's going to happen. I think you're going to look around and you're going to find more and more people saying, all right, look, here's the deal. Might have to mask up again. Might have to run a staggered open office again rather than having everybody come back to work. Might have to send people home, but we cannot close this thing down. And I think government realized once I said that genie's out of the bottle, putting it back is going to be impossible. All that being said, some places it's a nightmare. Some places is, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. And it will get better. But along the way, the fights, the arguments, the continual politicking of this thing, is going to get uglier. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Hope you had a good weekend. Enjoyed it. Talk a little Olympics. I watched some of the end of it. I'll give you the final medal count. How did we do? Did we do okay? Did we make Uncle Sam proud? Can you be an uncle? Or is it non-binary? Probably. MyPillow. Right now, MyPillow has towels, right? What are towels? Those are things that you wear after you get out of a bath, shower, something like that. Maybe you jumped in the pool and you grab these amazing towels and you wrap them around. They're not lotiony. They feel amazing, right? Because they're not lotiony, because this cotton's grown right here in the United States of America. So when you grow this cotton here and you use proprietary technology, you create these towels that are awesome. Right now, 6-piece towel set. Normally, $109.99. Now only $39.99. 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths. It's a 2-pack right there. You're going to get incredible colors to choose from. Sizes are awesome. 60-day money-back guarantee, 1-year limited warranty. Right now, so your chance to take advantage of this deep discount with MyPillow. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Check out all of the other great deals and discounts they have there. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Or call 800-983-4975. 800-983-4975. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
Oh, the pomp and circumstance of stuff. The Olympics finally came to a sad end. It is over. But it's not as over as you think it is because, we had a delay, so it's kind of over shorter.
Fireworks over a city that didn't want these games 2 weeks ago, but in the end embraced the Olympic spirit. In a show of unity, the athletes all marched in together. It was a games with its share of heartbreak and history. Allyson Felix ending her career as the most decorated US track and field Olympian. But some stars may not be done yet. Like Katie Ledecky, her 6th individual gold, the most of any female swimmer. And Simone Biles, her gut-wrenching decision to withdraw from all but one gymnastics event to focus on her mental health. Both have hinted we could see them on the Olympic stage again in just 3 years.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Ledecky, maybe. Simone Biles. Was she in her early 20s? That's tough, usually. Although there was a gymnast this year, she was 46. And she was competing. It was her last Olympics. So you never know. How did we do? Well, 113 medals. Nobody else got to 100. China came in second with 88. They had 38 golds. We had 39 golds. Japan had a very good Olympics, 27 golds, 58 total medals. Great Britain had 65 total medals. All the way down to the bottom. Syria got a bronze. Moldova got a bronze. Kuwait got a bronze. Grenada bronze. Ghana bronze. Ivory Coast a bronze. Burkina Faso a bronze. Botswana a bronze. Finland got 2, baby. Mexico got 4. Why is Mexico not better at the Summer Games? I'm sorry. You guys should be better at the Summer Games. I expect more out of you. My Mexican brothers and sisters, which is partially me, but still, I expect more out of you. It's not like you come from Finland, where you're like, all right, we see the sun for 3 hours a year. I expect more. And I got less. Crazy. But when you look at how much money NBC lost, and why is this a big thing? Well, you look around and you start asking yourself questions. Are you spending money in this way in the future? If you're NBC, because remember, you're buying these things as you're paying X amount of billions of dollars to get several Olympiads. And the whole thought process, much like it is with with football and everything else is to get eyeballs on your program, not just for the advertising, but also advertising stuff that you own, because now everybody owns something. You own Peacock. You own, Universal. So you've got movies, you've got television shows, you're doing all of those things. This didn't help. This was an absolute unmitigated disaster. And when you see something like this, people start to ask questions about, was it worth it in the future? I don't know if it will be. I don't know if they'll spend that kind of money, but they'll have leverage. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Again, the nightmare that is the continual battle of the coronavirus, the latest variant, which is the Delta variant. Where is this damn thing headed?
Until we put in some of these mitigation measures and until we get a lot more people vaccinated, we're going to be struggling with the Delta variant for a while.
Yeah, and that's going to suck. It really, really is. The trend's going up. And also you have, situations when it comes to children. And looking around thinking, all right, what's going to happen with kids? Kids are back in school. Some kids are back in school and they've already closed school. My stepdaughter went to school. She was at school for a whopping 5 days before they shut it down. She has to go back till next Monday, potentially. We've had several schools already closed down here. I've seen it in a few other places. It's an ugly situation, but this has a trickle-down effect to the economy, to many other things. And I don't think as the government tries to get an infrastructure bill up and running that they're going to be out rolling out more and more cash at this point in time. It's insane. And I also don't think we're going back in because a lot of people out there who are pissed and angry about, the unvaccinated are also saying to themselves, I'm not letting you tell me I can't go outside anymore. I went and did everything I was supposed to. So the battle is going to get worse, especially amongst ourselves, I have a feeling. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We will make our own health choices. We will not show you a passport. We will not wear a mask. We will not be forced into random screenings and testings. We will not accept your agency's mandates or your reported moves towards a lockdown. No one should follow the CDC's anti-science mask mandates. Local bureaucrats and union bosses, we will not allow you to do more harm to our children again this year. Every adult who works in schools has either had the vaccine or had their chance to get vaccinated. There is no reason for mask mandates, part-time schools, or any lockdown measures.
But that's what we're going to get. That's what we're going to get. It's coming. It is. And having these conversations, I think, is important to figuring out how we get the hell out of this damn thing in a way where we don't end up killing ourselves, screaming at ourselves, fighting each other at all. The way that we have been. Look, this thing is not going anywhere. Dr. Larry Brilliant, which is, by the way, what a great name, right? Dr. Larry Brilliant. One of the best epidemiologists of all time. If there was a team of people you're putting that guy on the wall, you're putting her on the wall, you're putting this is a Hall of Fame. This guy's one of the best. And he said, look, the Delta virus may be the most contagious virus ever. And by the way, we're not out of this thing at all. The world is nowhere near the end of this. And that's something I've been telling everybody. Because I think a lot of people think, well, if we get to the point where we're at herd immunity, this is going to be great. Yeah, it is. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to get there through thick and thin. Because people are going to get vaccinated. And by the way, the vaccine is no magic bullet. right? The vaccine is anything but a magic bullet. What it does do is it keeps you alive and really kind of mitigates any of the damage that would be done to you comparatively if you didn't have it. Makes that chance of you going to the hospital very slim. In saying that, though, is there a chance that this thing could change? Is there a chance that this thing, because of the vaccine, that it's learning to do certain things? And this is very interesting. Joe Rogan brought this up. Now, I've looked, and by the way, there are several papers out there. He's right about it. There are several papers out there, not just about this vaccine, but on several vaccines in the past.
That situation where the vaccine just kind of protects you from serious damage, from really being badly hospitalized or death, but doesn't stop you from getting the virus, can possibly lead to more potent viruses. So these people that are saying, oh, it's these unvaccinated people that are responsible for the variants. Well, there's actually scientific papers that point to the very sort of environment that we're creating by having so many people vaccinated with a vaccine that doesn't kill off the virus. It actually can lead to more potent viruses.
Now, there are plenty of papers that say, no, that's not true. But there are a lot of people out there who say, look, you know what? Going back several years, long before this thing was around, COVID, that we know, that, hey, yeah, you know what? There have been vaccines in the past that, while they worked in some ways, they didn't work the way it was as far as killing it. And because of that, there's been issues kind of like what we talk about when it comes to like a superbug. People use too many antibiotics. They become a point where there's something that becomes resistant to antibiotics. Now, I don't think that's this, but that's one of those things that's floating out there. But one thing Rogan did say that I find to be absolutely spot on, and is the thing we've talked about. There's a great article a few months ago in The Atlantic about the hardest thing that we're going to come out of when we do come out of this is seeing people who've had a lot of power, who normally don't have power like this, unwind that power.
The problem with applauding vaccine passports, they are not going to give that power up. They're not going to. They're going to find a reason to continue to use that. If they can figure out a way to force you into carrying papers, into carrying something that lets you enter businesses or lets you do this or lets businesses open, as soon as you give politicians power, any kind of power that didn't exist previously, historically, they don't relinquish that power. You can't work anymore unless you do what I say. That's essentially what a vaccine passport is. I mean, Don Lemon was talking about that openly on CNN.
Yeah.
Don't have a vaccine? Can't go to the supermarket. Don't have a vaccine? Can't go to work.
Yeah. That's scary. That is absolutely scary. It's terrifying to think that. This goes back to little power corrupts. Give people the opportunity to do something. Look in history what happens when they start playing this game. I'm not saying this is Germany circa 34, 35, all the way up through the war and where, but you can't tell me that there isn't this situation right now where it's like it's becoming the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. It's becoming people lying about being vaccinated, trying to buy vaccine cards because they don't trust the vaccine. They're not ready to have the vaccine. You can't tell me, because that's true. It is. You know, my on-air partner here for my other show, he tells me all the time, we got to start treating those people different. You get stars out there talking about, well, if you're not vaccinated, then you're not going to be in my life. Are you vaccinated? Yeah. Well, what do you care then? What do you care? If you're vaccinated, what do you care? That's the stuff. I mean, we're talking about treating people differently because they don't have a vaccine. And in some cases, some people treating people differently because they do have a vaccine.
Because they're dumb. They don't understand the history of every single country that's ever existed other than the United States. Up until 1776, every country that has ever existed was run by dictators. All of them. This is the first one where you had elected officials. This is the first experiment in self-government that actually worked, and it created the greatest superpower the world's ever known. Right in here. And how did it do that? It did it through freedom.
Yeah. And responsibility. You can be both free and have personal responsibility. You can be free and say, look, just because you have all this freedom doesn't mean you don't have responsibility with that. And that responsibility is to look out for not only yourself, but to make sure you do the right thing so you're not being a burden to somebody else or potentially putting somebody else in harm. It's how do we get to that level, I think, is the important part. But when you start talking about telling people they've got to carry this thing around or show people this or have a passport, if somebody tells me, look, I'm vaccinated, if they tell me I have to have a passport and kiss my ass, well, you're not going to eat. Yeah, I will. Figure out a way to do it. Figure out a way to do it. That's the stuff that's insane. That's the stuff. That's the thing we should worry about. Because we saw overreach when this thing went south. Originally. We saw the battle that it became. And we're seeing it flare up again.
Because when you give people freedom, you let people do whatever the they want to do, they actually find ways to succeed and grow and thrive. But as soon as you put the boots to them, as soon as you tell them, you have to do this or you can't do that, you have to listen to me, now you have a mini dictator. You have one step away from a king. You're moving one step closer to dictatorship. That's what's going to happen with a vaccine passport.
Yeah. I don't think any of us want that. I don't think any of us does. Now, I'm not looking at Biden and saying this is all him. No, I look at the local side of things. Your governor, my governor, and where is that person who's got common sense saying, look, guys, we got to get this stuff in control. I treat you guys like adults. I expect you to act like adults. Stop fighting with each other. Respect your neighbors, your coworkers, your kids, the other kids in school, even though you're sending your kid there. Respect them and tell them you've got these freedoms, but you got to use them in such a way as to not stomp on somebody else's freedoms. Let's do that. Can't, because you got to fight. That's all we end up doing is fight, 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 fight. We fight over everything. So my wife last night said, I don't do social media much anymore. I will answer stuff if people send me stuff, but I really don't like posting a lot anymore. And the big reason is simple. The negativity. I was talking to my uncle the other day, and he had a pretty decent-sized Twitter following. He said, I got off Twitter a few months ago, man. I'm happier than I've been in a long time. I don't need to see it. I don't want to know about it. I don't care. What was, and that's the thing. It's not, take this away. We're fighting over something, right? If we're not fighting over Trump, we're fighting over Biden. If we're not fighting over this, we're fighting over that. It is a frustrating thing. And with our attitudes and our polarizations right now, it's tough to sit there and say, how do we have a normal conversation when the extremes dominate too much of the damn thing? Especially when it comes to who they're reaching. And that's not good. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. It does, I tell you. My dog Doodle, I was looking at him last night, and I'll tell you guys this. I mean, he's not long for this world. We think he's probably closer about, now, much closer to the end than the beginning. But we would have had to put him to sleep last year had it not been for Rough Greens. In the case of him, you've got arthritis, you've got bad hips, you've got fatty tumors. His digestive system wasn't great. It was a struggle for him. In 18 months, his life has changed. He is healthier and happier than he's ever been when he's been with us. He's just a happy dog comparatively to what he was before, which was kind of grumpy and mean. And I love that. Canine Vita Smart is amazing. It's got like vitamins, minerals, probiotics. It's got omega-3, 6, 9. It's got digestive enzymes. It's got all these amazing things. And what it's done is it's made his joint pain virtually disappear. His arthritic hips, you would never know. And the fact that he just looks better, his fur is better, is incredible. Try it for yourself. You love your dogs like I love my dogs. Try it. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. You go there, they're going to give you a bag for free. Okay? They give you a bag for free. You just cover the cost of shipping. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Call 833-MyDog77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
One of you boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
I'm a superhero! It's a #1 debut for the Suicide Squad, but with a less than expected $26.5 million box office take. $30 million or more is what the pundits were forecasting. Blame the shortfall on its simultaneous HBO Max release or renewed fears over the COVID-19 Delta variant, but it'll be a heavy lift to earn back the more than $200 million the movie cost to make and market. Disney's Jungle Cruise slips from first to second in week 2 with another $15.7 million.
So I've seen both of them. I like the Jungle Cruise. I love Suicide Squad. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was fun. It was it was campy. It was easily the best DC thing I have seen. Really, it was cool. It was stupid fun. And, some of the characters, because they went and they got characters, James Gunn, that you normally wouldn't have in these movies, right? It's always the same kind of characters. They got Polka Dot Guy. Polka Dot Guy was hilarious. I loved him. They had Weasel.
Is this thing a dog? A dog? What kind of dog do you think it is, mate?
I'm gonna go with Afghan Hound.
Oh my God, is it a werewolf?
Yo, he's turning into a werewolf! Yo, let me out! Hey, he's not a werewolf, okay? He's a weasel. He's harmless. I mean, he's not harmless. He's killed 27 children, but,
Yeah. There was one guy who was so stupid. He was detachable, the detachable kid, where he was like, his arms and stuff could pop off. He couldn't really do anything. He'd fly over and he'd like punch, but it was just kind of like more of a little slap. It was so stupid. But the Weasel was hilarious. The Weasel was. It was fun. It was good. Polka Dot Guy was great too. And John Cena played Peacemaker, who was absolutely awful and hilarious at the same time. If you like good fun movie, that's all it is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. This I found. So I found this today. Whoever put this together, can I just say, is amazing. So you can go to pudding.cool and up will pop it's basically what they call is a journey through every Billboard top 5 hit from the greatest era of music, it's called 1958, all the way through till today. So these are the top 5 hits every single year. It's all in the game. And it just keeps bouncing back and forth. And you see it when you watch this thing. And it bounces back and forth. It's got the album. Here's the Chipmunk song. #1 song, December 1958. January, #1, Smoke Skits in Your Eyes, The Platters. And you could just jump through, so you could just jump up here. So I move all the way up to 1972. The Candyman, Sammy Davis Jr. It is incredible. So if you want to see something neat, I'm going to post it a little bit later. It is just incredible as it walks through everything. I don't know who put it together, but you see the album covers, you see everything. A little Alone Again. #1 for 4 weeks. Brandy was right after that, The Looking Glass. Then The Alone Again jumped back up there again. It's amazing. It is amazing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. The other thing going on that was big and fun and scary and makes people angry, but people are excited, was a thing called Sturgis.
Law enforcement say the first few days of this year's annual Sturgis motorcycle rally have been among the busiest they've seen. Some 700,000 people are expected to celebrate their enthusiasm for motorcycles at the 10-day event that kicked off Friday. And while there are concerns the event will become a coronavirus super spreader, police in Sturgis and the surrounding county say ordinary service calls are up dramatically compared to previous years. Officers have so far issued 207 violations for open containers of alcohol since the rally began.
Wait a minute. Bikers are getting together, and there's been some phone calls about things that are potentially crimes, like open containers, people fighting in the streets. That sounds like Sturgis. That's what it sounds like. That's what it is. Will it be a super spreader? I mean, last year, people started, we got to trace things back to here. We stopped that contact tracing a long time ago. This thing is community spread. It's everywhere. Everywhere you go today outside, there's a chance you're running into somebody who's either got it or somebody was right there before you who just had it. I mean, these are things that are real, so you have to be prepared for that. So, tracing people now, I think, is out the window. Testing, again, is up through the roof. And you see the numbers. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We will make our own health choices. We will not show you a passport. We will not wear a mask. We will not be forced into random screenings and testings. We will not accept your agency's mandates or your reported moves towards a lockdown. No one should follow the CDC's anti-science mask mandates. Local bureaucrats and union bosses, we will not allow you to do more harm to our children again this year. Every adult who works in schools has either had the vaccine or had their chance to get vaccinated. There is no reason for mask mandates, part-time schools, or any lockdown measures.
Rand Paul, I think we know how he feels. Very much still, look, he's more libertarian than probably conservative in a lot of ways. Kind of like Pops. And you've had your chance. Funny thing is, when I talk to people about this, it's like you give people the opportunity. It's like, well, now we're masking up again. I'm like, well, why are we masking up again? Well, because people didn't get vaccinated. I'm like, well, they've chosen not to get vaccinated. It's not because they didn't hear about it, right? They didn't wake up from a coma. And they go, what? What happened? Oh, my God, I should get one of those. They didn't do any of that. You had the opportunity to get vaccinated. You've chosen not to get vaccinated for whatever reason. For whatever reason. So they're fine with that. We should be able to live our life. But we should also be aware and cognizant that this thing that's out there, this Delta virus, is no more deadly. It's just easier to catch. And I want to stress that. It's not deadlier. It's easier to catch. Meaning the net it cast is much bigger than even the regular old school Wuhan coronavirus number one. The OG, the OV, the original virus. So the flu, you go in a room and you're sick and there's 100 people, maybe 2-3 people get it. With the original virus, maybe 5-10 people get it. With this, 15-20. Net's bigger, meaning it could do more damage. It's not deadlier. It's just playing the odds that the more chances I have at it, the better chance that I'm going to win. That's where we are. But here comes new calls for mandates, new calls for all kinds of stuff. Lockdowns. I don't think lockdowns are going to happen. Even Fauci, is, look, he's about local mandates. Doesn't want a federal one because I just don't think you can get away with that, right? Because the states will push back. Even states that agree will say,
You're not going to see a federally from the federal government mandating vaccines for the country. But I'm almost certain, in fact, I am certain, that as soon as the FDA fully approves the vaccines, you're going to see the empowerment of local enterprises giving mandates. That could be colleges, universities, places of business, a whole variety. And I strongly support that.
Now, here's some stuff. If you're fired because you won't get the COVID-19 vaccine, don't expect to collect unemployment. So, if you're fired, there's a chance that unemployment may tell you no. CNN last week revealed it had fired 3 of their unvaccinated employees for violating the company's vaccine requirement for in-person workers, according to Intel. The memo was signed by Jeff Zucker, the cable news network president, and there you go. You knew the rules. You didn't get it. Read an article this weekend where people are lying about getting the vaccine or whether they've had the vaccine because they don't want people to know either way. They don't want people to judge them. And we've become that judgy thing, haven't we? Where we're judging people based on that. So now unemployment may tell you no. On top of that, how about a tax? Yeah, a vax tax. Not VAT, vax. Where employers are beginning to tack on a special surcharge from $20 to $50 a month to their unvaccinated workers, according to the nation's largest health benefits consultancy. To date, employers have offered a gift card, a day off from work, cash, and other financial incentives to get people to do it. But the carrot approach is now getting the stick approach. Hey, look at this. This looks nice, right? Why don't you do it? Nah, I don't want to do it. Okay. Hey, look over here. This doesn't look nice. We're going to hit you for $50. They've tried to encourage people, they said. Now they're trying to come at them in a different way, which I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits. This is where we are. We fight with each other. That's what we do. We fight nonstop, and it doesn't win. It doesn't help us win anything. It doesn't. We're treating people who are unvaccinated differently, and it's funny because the unvaccinated and the vaccinated kind of look at each other as enemies. Rather, it's like, oh, you're vaccinated, it's because you're a wuss, right? And they're like, okay, whatever. Yeah, but you're vaccinated. Some people are like that. Other people are like, you know what? I just feel I didn't need it. I'm healthy. I feel like I didn't need it. So people who are vaccinated feel like, oh, you're just a science denier and an idiot. And some people are like, well, you made the choice. The problem is the people that call you a wuss or think you're going to turn into a pumpkin, and the people that think that you're a science denier, they have the loudest voice in this fight. And that's the frustrating thing. That's the frustrating thing. The voice is too loud for them, where we should look at each other and go, I respect your decision. I do. I felt what I did was right. Let's respect each other's decisions and not have it bleed out into a fight. But we can't do that.
Until we put in some of these mitigation measures and until we get a lot more people vaccinated, we're going to be struggling with the Delta variant for a while.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I don't know if we're going to struggle for a while. If you go and look at the UK, so we are usually a few, I would say 4 to 6 weeks behind the UK. So the UK topped out with the Delta variants in over 50,000 in July 17th. So less than a month ago, they're down. They've cut that in half. But it's not falling the way they think they would like to see it fall. Obviously, it's kind of staying steady. Before that, just think about this. Before that, so May 31st, June 1st, 3,100 cases in the UK. With just over a month, it had gone up to over 50,000. We're kind of on that plateau. I think we're going to get it. I think it's going to start to come down sooner rather than later because the reason is so many people are getting it, and it spreads so fast. One of those big places is Florida. Look at the nightmare that's going on in Florida. This is Bill Cassidy. He's a physician, means he's a doctor. He's a Republican. He's from Louisiana. There's also a congressman. And he's looking over at his friends over in Florida and saying, what in God's name are you doing?
I'm a conservative. I think you govern best when you govern closest to the people being governed. And if a local community, their ICU is full, and the people at the local schools see that they've got to make sure they stay open because otherwise children miss out for another year of school, and they put in policy, then the local officials should be listened to. That is a conservative principle.
So you disagree with Governor DeSantis?
I do disagree with Governor DeSantis. The local officials should have control here.
Yeah. But the nightmare that is DeSantis is kind of turning, his nose up and allowing whatever happened to happen. And people are pissed. People are angry. Some people, I don't want my kids to go to school and sit next to somebody who's unvaccinated or be in a classroom where there's no masking. We'll tell your kids to wear a mask. And if you're that worried about it, maybe you should keep your kids at home. And vice versa. You can respect and say, look, you know what? I don't know if the mask works as well as some people think, but it's something we can do to make people feel a little bit better so you don't have to sit at home for the next 3 to 6 months because this battle goes on. It's not hard trying to figure out a solution. Remember, solutions don't make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. When you try to make everybody happy, nobody's happy. But we need to find some common ground to get through this thing. And based on what I see, there's not a lot of common ground out there because everybody's more concerned about being right than rich. So that's all. I always go back to that. Would you rather be right or would you rather be rich in life? Oh. Yeah. I'll take rich. Along the way, you're going to be right some of the times. But the want, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong when you're rich. It just means that, you know what? You don't have to get everything. Sometimes you step back and you say, this is a fight I don't need to fight. But we don't do that now. We fight at every opportunity we get. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. I give it to my dog every single day. Give it to my puppies, too. So you guys don't probably know, I have 2 puppies. I have this awesome dog named Red, and I have a dog named Bowie. My little one has that. She loves Bowie, and Bowie's hers. But they're young, and they're healthy, and they're happy. Sprinkle on top of their dog's food is a supplement called Canine Vitasmart. Goes right on top of your dog's food. So you don't change any other food. You just put this on. Imagine just adding a little spice to it, if you will. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all these incredible things. When you do that, it brings out all those nutrients, gives your dog more, helps with everything. Helps with their breath, helps with their teeth, helps with their digestive enzymes, and yes, their joint pain, if they have any, keeps their joints healthy and happy, and of course, their coats. Try it right now from Rough Greens, Canine Vitasmart. You get a bag for free. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping. RUFFgreens.com/Chad, roughgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let us take a peek and see what's trending on the old interwebs, if we could for just a moment. Start over in Twitter. Governor Cuomo denies sexual harassment claims detailed in the state attorney general investigation. That is trending. One of his advisors has resigned, and he has zero support whatsoever, but he seems to not want to be giving up any thing when it comes to whether or not he's going to resign. He looks like he's going to do everything he can to exhaust all efforts to stay in power. Norwegian Cruise Lines, yeah, for sure. They won a preliminary U.S. court injunction that allows the company to ask customers for proof of COVID-19 vaccination before boarding. Nagasaki, 76th anniversary today of the dropping of the bomb in Nagasaki. The mayor of Nagasaki is urging the U.S. and Russia to do more to eliminate nuclear weapons. Head on over to Google. Ella French, police officer, died in the line of duty for the weekend. Another cop fighting for his life. Chicago, another nightmare weekend there. Peyton Manning, inducted to the Hall of Fame. Got himself his yellow jacket. Tom Brady flew in for that as well. Several others going in. Charles Woodson, Calvin Johnson, and of course Peyton Manning. And it's always interesting to listen to Peyton talk. Peyton's got all kinds of stories about, well, of course, playing in the NFL. Just told lots of anecdotes. It's a night where you can kind of, tell these stories. Talk about people. One of the people that flew in was Tom Brady, which he was excited about.
By the time Tom Brady is inducted in his first year of eligibility in the year 2035, he'll only have time to post his acceptance speech on his Instagram account.
Because Tom's old. That's what he's trying to say. He's old.
In my youth in New Orleans and in Newman School, football carved out a place for my favorite quarterback, my hero, my role model, my dad, Archie Manning, to pass on something he loved to me.
It's good speech. Charles Woodson gave a great speech as well. It was interesting. Again, and he talked about the fact that you're watching grown men cry. Guys who looked up and thought to themselves, could I actually get there? Could I make it there? And they made it there. And, you think about all the things that you go through in your life to get to certain positions, things that people sacrifice for you to get there. People help you. And, it was interesting to watch. But Peyton, and again, think of it, like Tom Brady is going to be 43, 42, 43. Got a new contract, says he wants to play to 45, and then he says he'll evaluate from there. But what he's done is amazing. And if he does make it to 45, and I don't see a reason he won't make it to 45 unless he just out of nowhere. And that's what's going to happen. He's going to know when. I think he's smart enough to know that Father Time is undefeated. That is in life and that is in careers, especially a career like sports. At some point in time, Father Time wins. Doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes people choose to get out early when they had plenty of gas in the tank, and sometimes people get out late when they were coasting because there was nothing left. He won a Super Bowl last year. What do you tell him? Oh, dude, you don't have it? No, I think he had it. And I think with the way he takes care of himself, it's going to be interesting. And Lionel Messi, the big trender over the weekend, both Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, he left Barcelona, a place he had been at since he was a child, and he gave a tearful goodbye and just really choked up. Just, again, goes back to, that's what this sport can do. It's a sport for children played by men, and it can evoke an emotion. But rumor has it that he will be offered a 2-year contract from PSG, and I think from there he'll come to the United States. But that contract itself will probably pay him over 2 years, I would assume close to $500 million. Good money if you can get it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I'm sick of talking about this crap. I think most of you guys are. I really do. I think most people I talk to are over talking about. They don't want the fights anymore. They don't want to see this insanity anymore. They're over the chaos and the craziness of Delta and what's the next variant? What's the next thing we should be scared? How do we go about living through this thing and around this thing and above this thing? That's all we need to know, right? That's what I want to know. That's what most people want to know. We're sick and tired of fighting. We're sick and tired of seeing this stupid ass fighting over something that we shouldn't be fighting over. We just want to live our life, and we don't want government coming in any more than they're already intrusive into our world. We just want to be able to live our life, and we want to be able to say, what can we do to keep our families healthy? At the same time, understand that people panic, they overreach, especially governments, and the media sells you that this thing is evil and bad, and if it bleeds, it leads, so there's going to get the most coverage of everything. What do we do? That's what people want to know. What do we do in the sense of where are we getting our information that is real, that is not based in hyperbole, it is not based to scare you, it is based to deliver to you, here is the who, what, when, how, and why. You make up your mind from there. That's what people want. That's it. The question is, kids are going back to school. Is this thing more dangerous?
We can say that this virus is more contagious for sure. What we don't yet know with certainty is whether it's more virulent, but certainly to my eyes and I think to what others are seeing across the region, children are experiencing more severe disease than they have in the past.
All right. So there you go. That's what they're saying. More severe disease than they have in the past. Is it really that? Or is it just that we're getting into a situation where it is becoming easier to catch, and because it's easier to catch, it is catching more people. It's catching more people, and because it's catching more people, it is getting to a position where you're seeing more and more kids are getting it. And because more and more kids are getting it, what do we have? More and more chance that this thing is going to turn out to be something that's an absolute nightmare, which it's becoming. And then you take it from there and you start to look around. What, now they may not pay you unemployment if you get fired from your work for not being vaccinated. There's a possibility for that. Some employers are already starting to charge you a $20 to $50 surcharge, essentially, on top of your paycheck, saying, hey, you know what, you didn't get vaccinated, so here's this. Maybe our rates are going to go up. And then small business are still struggling to find workers, for God's sakes.
What have you had to do to entice workers?
We've done everything from, posting our wages have increased drastically to attract new people. We're in a tough spot because we're battling big companies that can pluck our employees and offer rates that small businesses can't really afford. Offering a month paid off or full health benefits. It's something that we're trying to balance, but there's just nobody out there to kind of help us service these customers. It's never thought in a million years we would be in this position coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah. But that's where we are. Another thing that's happened, kids are going back to school. For a lot of kids, summertime, you're working, you're making a little change, right? It's your first kind of gig. Maybe you work on the weekends, maybe one night a week. But that 35 hours plus a week that you were getting over the summer, that's gone now.
So when you think about all the seasonal employees you were able to hire, many businesses here hired teens and students. They've got to go back to school in the next few weeks. And a lot of those parents who maybe you were depending on coming back, they might not be able to with COVID continuing to spread. Are you going to face another problem with labor?
Yes, we already are, because we have seen those teenagers already make their exit plan. And so we are, full fever looking for staff.
Yeah. Small business struggling. Kids back to school. And then, of course, you've got rising prices. People now worried about the Delta variant. This is another perfect storm of panic, argument, and out-and-out stupidity.
We consistently have issues with maintaining the number of people we have to operate our business, and we're constantly looking for new people.
And people just trying to make ends meet.
I feel like inflation is through the roof, and I'm terrified. I can't hardly afford the same food I bought a year ago because it's so much more expensive to get just simple things.
Yeah. And that is going to continue to be so for the coming, I would say, weeks and months. You're going to see that. Not everything. I think you're going to get some flexibility in some stuff, but the other side of things is something that we're continuing to talk about, is the fact that you look up and you have what? You have a higher gas prices. With higher gas prices brings more expensive things to market, because all of those things get passed on from point A to point B to point C, and then eventually to the consumer. And that doesn't even factor in shortages in some things and the fact that we can't even get some things at all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. So last week, revelations that weren't so, I don't think we're shocked by it. I think we were shocked about how fast the pressure came on to Governor Cuomo about really what took place with several of his top aides and other people that worked in and around him through the years.
Why did you file that criminal complaint with the sheriff's office?
It was the right thing to do. The governor needs to be held accountable.
And just so I'm clear again, being held accountable to you means seeing the governor charged with a crime.
What he did to me was a crime. He broke the law.
Yeah. Brenty Camiso, they're talking about what took place. Said she was groped. She says it was not normal. Now, you're going to have to go in front of, if you want these things, and this is what I think he's going to do. I think he's going to go, fine, you guys all take me to court, because he's fighting for his life. He's fighting for his, not just his life here, political life. He's fighting for his political life. He didn't want to go anywhere. He was the bee's knees. He was the one that was going to be it. He was the one that was supposed to be the one. In saying that, he's going to make it hell. He's not going down without a fight. 165-page report. Mrs. Camiso is she's referred to as executive assistant number 1. He said it never happened. He said it hasn't happened. None of this stuff happened. He's Italian. It's the way this went, right? So what she alleged was at the executive mansion, December 31st, 2019, to help the governor with his upcoming State of the State address. After finishing her draft of the speech, she said Mr. Cuomo suggested the two of them take a selfie. Two stood next to each other. She said, then I felt while taking the selfie, his hands go down my back onto my butt, and he started rubbing it. Not sliding it, not, quickly brushing over it, but rubbing my butt. Said in November 2020. Mr. Cuomo groped her again. Once again, she was there to attend the governor's ball at the executive mansion, where she said he pulled her in for a close hug. She said in the interview that she was afraid a staffer might walk by and get the wrong idea. You're going to get us in trouble, she said. So that's what she alleges. We'll see. On the other side of things, his brother is one of the biggies at CNN. Brian Stelter. I don't know if he took it upon himself. We're assuming he did. Talk about the fact that, hey, guess what? Not being covered the way it probably should be, and definitely being ignored by one of the people at CNN, understandably.
Chris Cuomo has a lot to say, but right now he cannot say it. CNN management has made two things clear to him. One, that he can't talk about his brother, Andrew Cuomo, on TV. And two, that he cannot participate in any more strategy sessions with the governor's aides. So if you're wondering why Chris has remained silent about the scandal, well, that is why. This has been a conundrum for CNN. Some think CNN made it worse by letting Chris interview his brother when COVID-19 was ravaging New York. But that was an unprecedented time period. And so is this one.
I would have had him come out and say it. Look, you guys know it. He's my brother. I love him. I don't know if these allegations are true. If they are, that'd be disappointing. But I need to sit on the sidelines for this and go from there. But instead, Brian Stelter's doing it.
A famous family in the news. A governor who soared to the highest heights last year, now falling to the lowest lows. Self-inflicted wounds. And a brother who just wants to do his job. But can he? Well, this week, Chris showed that he can. He tuned out the family drama and led compelling interviews during Cuomo prime time. Viewers wanted to see him on TV, and my sources say that management has been clear about its position. He is not covering the governor on TV, period. He is not talking about it at all.
That's weird, though, right? That's weird. It is. I mean, it's like a big story. You're not going to cover it. And it goes back to, once again, when you're that close, they always wanted to be gangsters. They didn't have the cojones to be gangsters. They grew up in the privilege of being in the spotlight with their dad. Then, of course, the older brother, who, by the way, is older by like 10 years. And looks at him as little brother. They've got this power dynamic that goes on. In saying that, though, they're both a bunch of canoes at times.
The Cuomos are a national embarrassment. This is disgusting. Understand who these people are. They were believe all women people. If you remember the old tweets from Andrew Cuomo back when the shoe was on the Republican foot, we went from believe all women to believe all women, but not these 11. This is ridiculous. He's not resigning because it would take dignity to resign. He doesn't have it. But this really undermines every bit of progress that was made by the Me Too movement.
Jimmy Fallon right there. Yeah, believe all women. Right? So one person from 30 years ago comes out against Justice Kavanaugh. One person 30 years ago, Justice Kavanaugh, not quite sure, but kind of maybe. The Democrats took it upon them to throw her to the wolves. She was overmatched and not compelling. And at best, it was like, what are you talking about? 11 people come out and it's like, it's no big deal, right?
Understand, every one of those resignations that were forced, and for good reason, during the Me Too movement, didn't come with the weight of an attorney general's report with as many witnesses and as much corroborating evidence as we're seeing here, yet he's still defiantly sitting there to the detriment of any woman that wants to come forward right now. And his brother, there's no world where his brother should be on the air. Think of it this way. If during the Harvey Weinstein saga, his brother Bob had a primetime show that wasn't covering it, you better believe everyone at CNN would have been all over this.
Yeah. True. 323-533-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Again, I don't envy being in a position like that. That's got to suck because you love your brother. In saying that, how do you not cover it? If anybody's going to take you seriously, how do you not cover it? If anybody's going to take you seriously, but because you can't, because along the way, you become part of the problem, because you become part of the story, because you advised him, you helped him out, you put yourself in a position where you weren't neutral, and it's hard to be neutral, because with family, it's hard to be neutral, especially if you're close with them. CNN, though, not a good look. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. MyPillow has the MyPillow towels. Cotton's grown right here in the United States of America. Proprietary technology makes these things ultra soft, non-lotiony, super absorbent. You get 6 of them for $39.99, normally $109.99. Super absorbent. Right? So you get out, boom, soaks up all the water. You get 2 big towels, you get 2 hand towels, and then you get a 2-pack of washcloths. You're going to love these things. Machine washable, absolutely incredible. So many different colors to choose from. You get a 6-day money-back guarantee, 1-year warranty. Now's your chance. Jump on this. Save this a massive amount of money. Think about this, right? Like, think about what you're saving on this. You're saving $70 right away. Plus, I get deep discounts on everything. Deep discounts on everything and then some when it comes to MyPillow. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Grab it now. Save big. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? You guys know, I know UFOs are real. We can't seem to get a straight answer from anybody about what's going on. And part of the fact is because the Delta variant, maybe this is why they've released it. Maybe this is why they've done what they've done. Maybe this is why, to try to keep the world from paying attention to the fact that aliens may be here. Well, if you're going to turn to somebody, J.J. Abrams, you find it for us.
I've never seen anything like that.
There's something in our skies. The world needs to get ready for what's about to happen.
All along, the UFO debate has been whether these things are real or not real.
And then, bam, the New York Times story changed everything.
I was trying to tell people, but no one seemed to really believe me. But now I do have evidence.
With less than a second, it crosses right in front of me. Poof, and it's gone.
Yeah, it's going to do a 4-part docu-series on it. It's very interesting. Again, this was big, but it really wasn't as big as it probably was. It could have been because of what's happening. I mean, we're all outside going, Delta variant, this, that, and the other. Kids go back to school, coronavirus, the world shut down. All of these things are going on. And by the way, people are going, hey, by the way, these people over here, yeah, they said they seen aliens. Who are they? Well, they're the Air Force. Well, aliens? Well, alien technology. What do you mean? Well, technology that we don't have on this earth. Ships that we don't have on this earth. Things that we don't have here. Politicians are like, yeah, there's stuff out there. No, can't be. And then we're going to release this thing, and then it comes out, it's quiet. Because we're too busy fighting over stuff like who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, when are you going to get the vaccine, what group are you in, how many times you have to wear a mask, can you get to go to school, all of that stuff's going on, and slowly but surely nobody's paying any attention to what's happening. But this looks very interesting. This entire docuseries, it just looks amazing.
We're seeing flying objects on the radar for 7 days.
The most highly trained observers that exist, Navy pilots, they've seen them with their eyes.
We were completely defenseless against these things.
This is too big to turn away from.
This is it. This is when the government is going to reveal the truth.
We must remain curious, do everything we can to try to figure things out.
Yeah. So, produced by J.J. Abrams, explores the mounting evidence that we're not alone in the universe. And again, just because it's unexplained doesn't mean it's from another world. But there are a lot of things that, based on the technology we have, that we cannot explain in the world that we live in. So, very interesting. And you heard at the end, Harry Reid, because Harry Reid has been pretty open about this over the last several years, especially since he got out of office. Hey, there's some stuff out there, guys. I mean, you all take a look. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Happy Monday. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We are announcing that due to the recent and rampant spread of the Delta variant, the fact that no child under the age of 12 is yet eligible to be vaccinated, and the reality that too many older students and their parents remain unvaccinated, that all students, educators, staff, and visitors will be required to wear masks inside of school buildings, regardless of vaccination status, for the start of the 2021-2022 academic year.
And there we are. Governor Murphy right there, governor of New Jersey, like a lot of other governors, trying to figure out what to do. Some governors have put mandates in. Don't you dare try to make children wear a mask. Others have said, hey, Asa Hutchinson over the last couple of weeks going, this thing's nasty, it's gnarly. And yes, we have a law that we put out there as far as mandating masks for children. We need to get rid of that at this moment in time. We need to suspend that. This thing is ugly and it is nasty, and we don't want to see spread among school children, and we don't want to see spread from them to parents and potentially somebody at home that could be sick. And speaking of that, we're still trying to figure out more and more about the Delta and children.
Children's Hospital New Orleans Dr. Mark Klein says he's now admitting record numbers of children sick with COVID-19.
They come in respiratory failure. They often require hospitalization in the pediatric intensive care unit, and a number of them have required mechanical ventilation.
Dr. Klein says masks and social distancing in schools may not be enough to keep it away this fall.
And it's really incumbent on adults and older adolescents who are eligible for vaccination to get the vaccine.
The Delta variant is certainly more contagious than previous versions of the coronavirus. Whether it's more dangerous is still being studied.
Yeah. What's it mean? Means it can capture more. More and more kids are getting sick because it's capturing more and more because we're back in school. You heard him there say, well, you know what? The social distancing and mask wearing may not be enough. Well, if that's not enough, then what are we going to do? Because for kids under 12, there isn't anything. But then you have to look at the numbers. And the numbers say the chances of a child going to the hospital and or dying from this is slim. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Kids will die from the flu. Kids will drive their bike today somewhere, get hit by a car, fall off their bike and hit their head. And that's the reality of it. You can't live your life in the fear side of things. We need to know as much as possible. But if we worried about everything that was around the corner, we wouldn't be able to function as human beings. We wouldn't. You know, one of the things that I read this really interesting article a couple months ago. I think it was it might have been in like Science and Nature. I read so much stuff. And it was talking about us as human beings and the afterlife, or what comes next, or the thought of continuing to push our life and our limits further. And that our brain does that. Because if we didn't think there was a way to somewhat escape death and continue on in some way, shape, or form, that as human beings, we'd find it tougher and tougher to move on, to continue to do things, especially as we got a little bit older. We don't know what this is, but we can't live in fear, but we need to have common sense. And that's where the battle goes sideways, is we don't have any common sense, in the sense that we can't look at somebody and say, I respect your right to get a vaccine or not to get a vaccine, and I hope you respect mine. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that, I keep myself and my family safe, and you do the same, and that, hopefully we can get through this thing without having to worry about whether or not you got me sick or I got you sick, or, hopefully neither of us get sick. And we just can't do that because we're so busy trying to be right that we're missing the point, right? And I go back to my old adage, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich? So many people say, I'd rather be right. Okay, great. And your want to be right so bad can do enough damage that you don't get to be the rich. And it doesn't mean the people who, quote unquote, or the rich side of it doesn't get to be right. But just every once in a while, you say, you know what? I don't need to be right about everything. Because too often not being right is one of those things where you're forcing something. And that's what causes the nightmare that we currently find ourselves in, which is not just us battling coronavirus, but battling each other. Not just us fighting this damn coronavirus, but fighting each other everywhere over the dumbest things. That should frustrate all of us. Are we going back to lockdowns? That's a question I get a lot.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. They can't keep all of your kids home from school. They can't keep every government building closed. We don't have to accept the mandates, lockdowns, and harmful policies of the petty tyrants and bureaucrats. We can simply say no, not again.
Yeah. No, not again. Not again. Not again. We shouldn't be going down there. We shouldn't be. And one of the things that we should think about is whether or not we are going to see mandates, not just in schools, which is people are calling for, but what kind of mandates we're getting at work. We were talking earlier, we'll continue to talk about this in the coming days and weeks, which is simply this, and I think people need to pay attention. Could you lose your job because you don't want to get vaccinated and lose unemployment? Think about that. Could your employer add on 20 or 50%, $20 or $50 per paycheck or per month as far as essentially a non-vaccination tax on you? These are all things that are going to happen. But the first thing we need to do is take a step back and go, how do we start respecting each other again when it comes to this? How do we start just looking over and saying, I respect this person even though I don't agree with them? And it's not just about this, it's about everything. Can you compartmentalize some stuff enough where you look over and say to somebody, you know what, I don't agree with that, but I'm not going to be in a position where I want to pick a fight with somebody that I like or I don't know over something that I shouldn't be involved in. And that's the frustration. Now you look over and you say, what about schools? Man, that's going to be the fight because many kids are going back to school today. Some kids went back last week, and it's going to start to ramp up over the next 3 to 4 weeks. My son's not going back for another month. He's got 2 more weeks with me here. He goes home for a week with no school. Then he goes back to school. But he got out really late compared to a lot of it. I had, like, my stepdaughters were out of school for what would have been school. They didn't go to school at all last year. And my own stepdaughter, she isn't in school at all. Again, she went for like 4 days and they closed it.
I think we know that masking in schools, that works to protect our kids. Even the kids that got infected, we know that most of them were infected in the community. So masks work even when we have an unvaccinated population. Now that we have more kids vaccinated, I think if we go in masking at first, that's going to be the best way to keep our schools open.
Dr. Todd Ellerman there. Is that the best way to do it? Yeah, I mean, it might be. And remember, the vaccination is not the end all to be all. It is not the thing that is 100%. And as far, because people are still getting it. What it does do is it makes the chances of you getting really sick and dying very, very minimal. Really sick and dying, just virtually no chance at that. But we're at the point where they're starting to go, all right, well, we've done everything we possibly could, right, with the carrot. By the way, don't offer the carrot. Offer a donut. More people are probably interested in that. Like, what do you like? You're like, I'm not eating a carrot. No. Offer a donut. But now they're offering the stick. Well, you don't want to do this? Fine. Well, you're going to have to do this. More testing. You may have to test every morning. You may have to test twice a week if you go to work. You may be isolated at work. And we don't want to get to a point where we're treating people differently based on that. But there's no way that you can't, because as a business owner, you're looking around going, I don't want to treat anybody differently. But the reality is I got to keep as many people on staff as possible because I'm already short-handed.
We want to cocoon the vulnerable children by making sure we are all vaccinated around them. Vaccination is the best way to prevent transmission to our children. You know, remember, when you look at, there's about 25 million kids that are 12 to 18, and only about a third of them are vaccinated right now. Under 12, of course, no one's vaccinated. So we need to do better and make sure we're all vaccinated.
But I don't know if that's going to go the way that he thinks, because I still think there's about 20% of America who will never be vaccinated. They're choosing not to for whatever reason. And I'd say about 15 to 18% of those are people who think that it's the mark of the beast, it's evil and bad, just a way to get Trump out of office, all of those things. And I think there's about anywhere between, I'd say 3 and 5% who feel that they're just fit enough to withstand this. It's not a big deal. We shall see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. The Olympics have come to an end. How ugly was it? How did we do? We'll touch on that. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The pomp. The circumstance. The Olympiad is over. It is over. It's done with. Put it to bed. Last night was it. Final ceremonies. A lot of questions about a lot of different things. First of all, how'd we do? We won the medal count and the gold medal count, but some people didn't do as well as they thought, and some of the big stars of this are thinking, could I do another one?
Fireworks over a city that didn't want these games 2 weeks ago, but in the end embraced the Olympic spirit. In a show of unity, the athletes all marched in together. It was a games with its share of heartbreak and history. Allyson Felix ending her career as the most decorated US track and field Olympian. But some stars may not be done yet. Like Katie Ledecky, her 6th individual gold, the most of any female swimmer. And Simone Biles, her gut-wrenching decision to withdraw from all but one gymnastics event to focus on her mental health. Both have hinted we could see them on the Olympic stage again in just 3 years.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I don't know about Simone Biles. You don't want to go out this way. So, but you got to ask yourself, too, what do you get, like 24? It's a bit old in that sport, although they had a 46-year-old this year. 46-year-old competed in the Olympics. And I'm not talking about like an archery or canoeing. I'm talking about in gymnastics. So is that a possibility? Yes. Then you have a lot of other questions. First of all, the questions are still being asked about those damn pesky Russian cheaters. Chad, that's not very nice. No, but they did as a group, and I'm talking mostly the government, they did cheat, and they weren't really supposed to be able to participate, but yet they did. They came in 3rd overall.
A lot of athletes were angry that the Russians were able to compete. They competed as the Russian Olympic Committee, but they still kind of wore their tracksuits with their national colours on it. The head of the US anti-doping agency called that a farce, so that will be something that Paris will have to think about in 2024.
Yeah. How do they deal with that? And, of course, the dollar bill question, because there's a lot of dollar bill questions. NBC lost a crap ton of money. What about, on paper, they said $15 billion. The reality is probably closer to $20+ billion that Japan shelled out. And we may never know. It could be far more than that. But there's all kinds of questions about sponsorships. Do people really want to get involved in something like this again because of what it seems to do? And these big things, whether it's the World Cup, it's the Olympics, some of these things, when they come into your town, if you do not have the infrastructure, you're probably not getting out of it what you're putting into it. And for a country that may be struggling, and right now the world is struggling, it's a tough thing to get people to get behind. And that's why nobody's really bidding on these things.
COVID aside, for me, there were other big themes here at these Olympics. One of them about money in sport, the fight, if you like, about whether or not the IOC had pushed Japan into putting these games on when they didn't want to in the first place. The idea that, Lindsay in Ohio, if she decides to share something on Twitter and it gets removed immediately because the rights holder has an issue with it. These sorts of things, I think, were big themes here.
And those aren't going away. So it'll be very interesting in the next one. So Paris has it next. Then we have it. The World Cup next year is going to be in Qatar. We'll see what it looks like. But the World Cup is a long way away. Normally, we would say the World Cup should have passed. It should be about 11 months away from now, 10 months away. But because of the heat in Qatar, they've moved it to starting essentially, I think it's like Thanksgiving time next year, all the way through to like December 20th. So it'll be, it's delayed just because of how hot it's going to be in Qatar, which is in the middle of the season. So imagine having the Olympics, which we see, and the NHL teams shut down for a couple weeks. Imagine that for a month. And that's what you might see take place next year. So 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. He's still there. And by that, I mean Cuomo. Not going anywhere at all.
The Albany County sheriffs and the prosecutors there are not going to be working hand in hand with the members of the Assembly and the members of the state Senate. These are going to be separate tracks. And so there is no deal to be cut to say, for example, I'm going to resign and therefore criminal charges wouldn't apply.
Yeah. So he has criminal charges, the woman is alleged, and they'll have to dig in to find out if there are going to be charges. Camiso, the former, I guess, aide to him, has 2 accusations against him, and she feels that she needs to file these charges.
This is different than many of the other allegations out there. Important to distinguish, this isn't sexual harassment. This isn't inappropriate conduct in the workplace. This is an allegation of a specific assault on her, physical assault. And she's one of the few who say that.
Yeah. And he, again, is not going anywhere. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. We're fighting over the Delta variant and coronavirus. We're also fighting over something else. We'll touch on that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The problem with applauding vaccine passports, they are not going to give that power up. They're not going to. They're going to find a reason to continue to use that. If they can figure out a way to force you into carrying papers, into carrying something that lets you enter businesses or lets you do this or lets businesses open, as soon as you give politicians power, any kind of power that didn't exist previously, historically, they don't relinquish that power. You can't work anymore unless you do what I say. That's essentially what a vaccine passport is. I mean, Don Lemon was talking about that openly on CNN.
Yeah.
Don't have a vaccine? Can't go to the supermarket. Don't have a vaccine? Can't go to work.
Don Lemon's a buffoon if he thinks that's something that we should be doing. I mean, honestly. Is that what we should be doing? Well, Chad, that's impossible. Really? Chances are that you're going to see some people get charged for not being vaccinated at work, docked on their paycheck, that some people may not get unemployment based on their refusal to get the vaccine and their company saying, let's stick with our guns and get rid of people that aren't vaccinated. And remember, these are always subject to change, meaning if your biggest salesperson who brings you in $1 million a year and crushes it compared to everybody else says, I'm not getting vaccinated, you probably go, yeah, right? Tom Brady says, I'm not getting vaccinated. You're probably going, maybe we'll tell everybody he did. If the likes of Patrick Mahomes say, I'm not getting vaccinated, or LeBron James, guess what happens? You make exceptions. But for that average person, this is the stuff they're talking about. And Joe Rogan's right. Look, we need to take a step back for a second and say, is this what we want to be? You're being forced to do something that you would like to have more time with? Maybe you don't believe it. Maybe you believe in the fact that you think that your body is strong enough to handle this. But you should be allowed to make some sort of, well, yeah, but you not getting the vaccine could prolong this thing. What prolongs this thing is the continual fighting and arguing about things. People trying to prove themselves right rather than working together. Well, working together is getting the vaccine. We're never going to get to where we want to get to with vaccine alone. It'll take way longer than I think people realize. We have to learn to live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing. And if we continue to panic every time we see flare up in certain parts of the country, that we're going to be in a stop all the time. That is not good. But when you start demanding people carry certain things with them, my goodness me, that is a scary thing.
Because they're dumb. They don't understand the history of every single country that's ever existed other than the United States. Up until 1776, every country that has ever existed was run by dictators. All of them. This is the first one where you had elected officials. This is the first experiment in self-government that actually worked, and it created the greatest superpower the world's ever known. Right in here. And how did it do that? It did it through freedom.
Yep. And freedom is great. And that means freedom to make choices. And sometimes those choices will bite you in the ass. And sometimes those choices aren't the best choices. They're not. But one of those things about freedom is personal responsibility. And I think without personal responsibility, we waste our freedom and we potentially hurt. We potentially hurt our liberty. Freedom. We need to be personally responsible. So I can be responsible for myself and my family. Right? Like that's who I'm responsible for. I can't be responsible for my neighbor, my coworkers, anybody else. I can be responsible for the group of people that I am responsible for, according to the United States of America, through taxes and everything. Those are the people I'm responsible for. And I can tell them, respect other people's wishes. They want you to wear a mask, you wear a mask. Right? They want so many people in the store at this point in time. Yeah. Okay, you do that. You respect their wishes. If maybe they, don't want you to come to their house because they're worried about something or whatever, totally fine. Even if you've been vaccinated. It's a possibility. But you respect their wishes and you respect whatever it is that they're about. That's it. And if you want to go somewhere and you feel that you need to wear a mask because you're worried a bit about something, you want to wear a mask or two masks or whatever you want to do that you think will help you, but you want to attend something, those people that are there that aren't wearing masks, respect those people that they're doing something like that. We just can't do that. Instead, we fight and we argue. And then what ends up happening? We get nowhere. We get nowhere. Hardest thing that many articles, opinion pieces, think tanks have said is the hardest thing that we're going to get out of this eventually is the unwinding of the powers that be. And I think that is real. And we're starting to see that. Some places wanting to, the minute something happens, the minute the cases go up, not looking at the actual numbers and hospitalizations. Some places are bad. Other places, the numbers have gone up, but the hospitalizations and the deaths have kind of just stayed steady. And the people that are dying, it goes back to that comorbidities and age. Huge thing. But everybody shuts down. We're not learning to live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing. We're just stuck in the middle of it. And those of us who should have the loudest voices are getting drowned out by the biggest idiots who are all more interested in being right than being rich.
Because when you give people freedom, you let people do whatever the they want to do, they actually find ways to succeed and grow and thrive. But as soon as you put the boots to them, as soon as you tell them, you have to do this or you can't do that, you have to listen to me, now you have a mini dictator. You have one step away from a king. You're moving one step closer to dictatorship. That's what's going to happen with a vaccine passport.
Yeah. And that's a scary thing. We don't want that. We don't. He brings up something else here. When you heard last week, we touched on it, that some insurance companies have toyed around with the idea, when you get sick, well, you have to pay for the whole thing yourself, which you're not going to be able to do. I mean, insurance companies, I'm sorry, that's not the way it works. I mean, you can give discounts to try to coax people into doing some things, but catching something here that is communicable, that is everywhere, that is community spread, even if you stayed in your house and you wore 5 masks, but you didn't get a vaccine because you couldn't, you can't. And once that starts, and it's funny because I've had people that are like, that's what they should be doing. They should be charging people. I said, you think that's what they should be doing? What do you think's going to happen when they come and say, you know what? You shouldn't have been playing this sport Therefore, we don't think we should cover you. They're already doing everything they possibly can in the insurance world to not pay for your stuff. But there are other questions that need to be answered about us as a group, as a nation, our health.
But where are the people out there calling for people to get healthy, calling for people to lose weight? 78% of the people in the ICU for COVID are obese. Where's that information being shared? Where's someone who's a leader who gets on TV and says, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to decrease our body mass. We've got to decrease our fat. We've got to make sure that people aren't overweight. We've got to make sure that people are healthy. Walk around your block. Start drinking more water. Stop eating sugar. Start taking vitamins. You can increase the strength of your immune system. We can fight things off better. We can be a healthier civilization.
Yeah, you're not going to find that. Because government over the last umpteen years has decided the best thing that they can do is try to protect us in every way, shape, or form, when they should be just supplying us with the data and allowing us to make decisions for ourselves. Like I said, yes, with all of this freedoms comes stupidity. I will take people who are stupid, who make bad choices every once in a while, over an overreaching government who wants to protect us from everything. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. I do. So this right here, I'm going to tell you guys, right? You know, we talk about trans things. We talk about gender. We talk about a lot of stuff that's out there. This was a battle up in Portland between a trans councilwoman, Tyska Meskis. I may have messed that up. It has nothing to do with that. I'm not really good at names. And a store owner who posted a sign about trans people.
You are nuts. You're not a woman. You don't look like a woman. You don't act like a woman.
The confrontation started inside.
Trans women are women. Get a trans women are women.
And spilled into the street. Aberdeen Councilwoman Tiesa Meskis confronted owner Don Suker about a sign he posted in his store saying, if you are born with a slang for a male body part, you are not a chick.
You are not a chick.
Okay, so that's how it started. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. And just watching them go back and forth. By the way, he goes about 5'2". She goes much taller than that. And they got into it.
What he wrote there was so demeaning and so dismissive of who I am and who any trans woman is.
Meskis, a trans woman, says she knows Suker has the right to say what he wants.
You're nuts. Back off now. No, you do.
But she wanted to tell him to his face it was hurtful.
I would really like them to open their eyes and their heart and see that we are who we are and all we want to be is accepted in our community.
That's it. That's all that she's looking for. Was it a hurtful thing? Yeah, it was. Again, it goes back to, why do you have to pick a fight with everybody? Right? Why do you have to pick a fight with everybody? Free speech, though, is real. This goes back to that liberty thing I was talking about. With all of these great things that we are promised, all of these amazing things that are put there in our Constitution, right? All of these things, nowhere in there does it say that, yes, the speech is free, but it doesn't mean you're free from getting hurt and vice versa. There's no guarantee or promise in there. But it goes back to that personal responsibility that you don't always have to be an a-hole to everybody. And some people enjoy doing it. They like trolling, whether it's in real life or on the interwebs.
Now, I don't care what they do, but don't come in here and complain to me about stuff. I have free speech.
Suker says anyone who disagrees with him does not need to spend money at his store, where that sign was still visible today.
And everybody's loved it. Everybody's taken pictures of it. Everybody laughs.
Not everybody loved it, as we saw.
Well, yeah.
And some people think it's hurtful.
Well,
he told us that this hurt.
But here's the thing. I don't give about feelings anymore. I went to Vietnam to fight for all this. Do you think I care about some feelings? Absolutely not.
He doesn't. And every once in a while, on the other side, people are going to say horrible things, and you have to go, you know what? I don't care what that person says. That's one person's opinion about something. You move on with your life. This goes back to having these great things about choice and freedoms. Having freedoms means that some people are going to be a-holes, but also having liberty and freedoms, that means, you know what? I have a choice not to pay attention to you. I have a choice to shop somewhere else. It goes back to personal responsibility and choice. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program, Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
People out there that are afraid to get on an elevator, claustrophobic. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she passed away a few years ago. She was terrified of elevators. I mean, terrified. So the first thing she did when she found a new doctor or something like that, she'd have to make sure, are they within walking distance? Can we get there? How many flights of stairs do we have to take? For me, I was young. It was no big deal. Still isn't. I don't ever take the elevator. I think I've been in this building going on 4 years now. I think I've taken the elevator maybe 4 or 5 times. And those times have been, I'm going to tell you guys this, those times have been when my friend who works over here at the zoo brings an animal up, or I've brought Big Winston up in his giant, huge, wagon where he can sit and stuff, and he comes in because he's coming to see everybody pre-COVID. But that's it. I mean, I've been on there with an alpaca, some other large animals, but I don't. I take, it's a couple flights of stairs. I get up and down. It's quick. Now imagine this. Elevator / some water.
Tony Liu and his friends got into an elevator in Omaha. As the elevator reached the ground floor, water started rushing in.
Water started coming in through vents. I just think it was going to go up to my ankles.
But the water kept rising. Liu and his friends tried to pry the doors open.
Once I got down to start trying to open the door, then it was to my neck.
Liu's friends calling 911, while Liu called his roommates.
And I was like, hey, you need to come down. I could be dying right now.
Yeah, so you've got that going on. Water, elevator, nightmare. So what do?
Those roommates then coming to the rescue, helping Liu and his friends pry open the door. The water so high, they had to swim out.
We just got open and then started swimming out. And then once I got out, I just couldn't believe, wow, this is something you see in a movie.
Something you see in a movie. I was telling the guys earlier that there's a movie came out about 10 years ago. It was called Devil. And that was a movie about people being stuck in the elevator and the devil potentially playing a part in it. Creepy, that's for sure. Speaking of movies, over the weekend, I did watch a movie, and I liked it.
I'm a superhero! It's a #1 debut for the Suicide Squad, but with a less than expected $26.5 million box office take. $30 million or more is what the pundits were forecasting. Blame the shortfall on its simultaneous HBO Max release or renewed fears over the COVID-19 Delta variant, but it'll be a heavy lift to earn back the more than $200 million the movie cost to make and market. Disney's Jungle Cruise slips from first to second in week 2 with another $15.7 million.
Yeah, I saw both of those, actually. Both of them I liked. Very enjoyable. This past weekend I saw that. Jack loved it. If you don't know anything about the Suicide Squad, so James Gunn did this Suicide Squad. The first Suicide Squad, that's where you get your first look, right? At, these metahumans that they figure they could take and use for good, even though these ones are bad. And Harley Quinn is one of them, Margot Robbie, and she is back in this. You have Colonel Flagg, who is the guy that kind of leads them all, even though he's not a metahuman. But then you had the new cast of characters. You had Boomerang, who was in the last one. But you had the Weasel, and Weasel was awesome. And yes, that's what he is. He's a weasel. You had Polka Dot Guy, and Polka Dot Man was very cool. But you also had John Cena, who was Peacemaker, and Idris Elba, who was Bloodshot. It was fun, and you had this other girl who really steals the movie, who controls rats. And it's a trip. But the movie's fun, and if you like fun, I like fun. It's exactly what I like. But my favorite of all was King Shark, who is a giant shark with hands that eats people. And yes, he is hilarious. Voiced by Rocky himself. Yes, that's right. Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone. Have a good one. We'll do it again tomorrow. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.